A few years ago, I asked my fiction professor what to cut out of a story. She responded, "To write poorly is the worst offense. To be dull is the second." I grew up on geek films, but lately everywhere I look in them these words echo. It seems that, generally speaking, a lot of these creators, for one reason or another, have reversed the offenses. They'd rather have a poorly written, exciting story than a well-written, dull one. I was going to start this by addressing some sort of timely news in geek films, but everything is on a standstill right now, and that's not really what this is about anyway. It's not about Marvel or DC really. It's not about what production company owns what or what boxes are checked in what origin stories. It's about all superhero films in a broader sense. It's about Star Wars and Men in Black, Hellboy and Fantastic Beasts. It's about all of them. But it's hard to even talk about these films anymore without some sort of Marvel slant. Film companies pump out 20 of these movies a year, and in equal parts the criticism comes in recognizing a particular formula, tropes of heteronormativity or force-fed inorganic female empowerment scenes which somehow achieve the opposite of what is intended. But anyone who has been with these characters from the beginning, before the films at least, will tell you that's not how it was initially meant. Take Peter Parker. He was my and many of our entry into these types of films. A pale, anxious kid with bullies and family turmoil. This was our archetype for the superhero. Not Kal-El, but a farm boy. Not Thor, but an injured college student. Poor, broken. Dweebs is my point. What these tropes have always shown, or strived to show at least, is that there is no archetype. The Super Friends were a bunch of quirky misfits with no strive for normalcy. Men and women, aliens and dogs, everyone brings unique qualities to the table which help against a common enemy in unique ways. Be yourself, ugly, scrawny, weak, heady, goofy, and so on. We all have something special and beneficial to bring to this table. Everyone is super, and I'll disagree with Syndrome. That doesn't mean no one is, because we all are in our own ways.
Marvel has always been and always will be a reflection of the world right outside our window. That world may change and evolve, but the one thing that will never change is the way we tell our stories of heroism. Those stories have room for everyone, regardless of their race, gender, religion, or color of their skin. The only things we don't have room for are hatred, intolerance, and bigotry. That man next to you, he's your brother. That woman over there, she's your sister. And that kid walking by, hey, who knows? He may have the proportionate strength of a spider.
If this is the ideal, how do we get so far off the mark with formulaic beat-by-beat playbacks of day-saving via punching? These are the types of plots which lead Martin Scorsese to tell Empire that these films are more theme parks than cinema. I can see how someone, especially someone who grew up alongside the trajectory of these arcs and became shaped by these characters, finally seeing them come to fruition in ways they never thought possible, might take offense to this statement. Personally, I don't. Geek films today are perhaps not a theme park, but certainly a game of chess. The writers of these films come up with diverse pieces with a variety of skill sets and inventive plot placements seemingly to pair with other pieces for either alliance or combat in creative ways. How will a bishop fare against a knight under these circumstances? Oh shit, did a pawn just take out a rook? All of these pieces, all of these moves over the course of the film to lead to a final battle. The confrontation of the king. Pair this form of plot development with cutting-edge computer graphics and vibrant colors stretching across a large screen, and I can see how this would start to look more like a theme park to some than any form of meaningful storytelling. But that doesn't mean it's valueless. Great stories come from travelers, rogue heroes who meet and crouch around a fire. Bear with this hyper-specific example for a moment. They have little food and resources, little shelter and warmth. The flames and newfound friendships become the only things keeping them sane. This is what makes a good story. The raw emotions of these characters finding unique importance in each other that wouldn't be under any other circumstance. This is why the Absorber cares. Nowadays, audiences have consumed so many of these stories in one form or another that much of narrative media seems to be a hollow shell of this ideal. Stories are written about the image of these travelers and rogue heroes, the stubble, the dirt-stained boots, the animal companion, the revolver, mixed of course with humor and modern glamour and anything else inconsistent or narrative distracting just to generate even the briefest note of attention among a vast field of content. But in this media vomit, we as consumers cannot forget that it was not initially the image and flair of these characters that got us hooked. It was the fire. The warmth and compassion and their relationships to each other, their needs and desires, that's what made them important to us. Stories are meant to express this emotion, not the image of those who carry it. 2008's The Dark Knight is a great example of this. It's a film about a muscular vigilante in a sleek black suit flying off skyscrapers to attack high-profile gangsters and colorful supervillains. But the movie doesn't fetishize or even linger on any of these aspects. It instead has a larger emotional story to tell, one of chaos and disorder and what that means in a broader and deeper context outside of Gotham City. Few superhero flicks since have gotten it right. But then reviews come out claiming that Nolan's Batman movies are not superhero movies at all, but gritty crime dramas that Batman happens to be in. I was going to quote someone specifically here, but there are so many critics with this opinion I decided I wouldn't single one out directly. Opinions like this one are an incredible disservice to films which are built on what Batman comics, television shows, and movies have been doing to formulate what the character and concept is today. Batman has been about mental instability, about arrogance, about the helplessness of the human condition, about moral grayness for decades. How absurd it is to say that when an interpretation finally gets it right, or mostly right I should say, it is no longer really about Batman at all. That's needlessly putting a limit or a barrier on what a superhero film can or should be. When a superhero film finally breaks the mold and tells a good story, not only is it still a superhero film, but it raises the bar and sets a precedent as to what should follow. By all means, keep playing your game of chess. Develop strange characters with unique skill sets. Pair them together in particular ways in rare contexts. But ultimately, tell a good story. After that, everything else should fall into place on its own.